right, hello wine drinking people. Today is Saturday, October 23rd. Finishing up a great week here of drinking at the Wine Watch, and we've been so busy, man. I don't even have time to put together what I sold you today. But we do have to go through this Dal Forno event from last night because it was spectacular. So we're still going to do what I drank last night, man, because that's not that hard, right? I mean, I could talk 10 minutes about what I drank last night on most nights, and that's just if I have 2 wines. But we have 10, we better get started, buddy. All right, well, we started out with the white wine from Quintarelli because, hey, Dal Forno does not make a white wine, to my knowledge anyways. So we had the Vino Blanco from Quintarelli, which is a blend of Garganiga and, I'm sorry, Garganiga. What are you talking about? Trebbiano? No, Friuli, Friuli, Tocai Friulano, and Sauvignon Blanc. Actually, it says here there's some other grapes in there, Trebbiano and Garganiga, but I always thought this was just those 2 grapes. We'll have to re-look at that. We'll check that one out and do a little more research on that, but that was fantastic last night. Very crisp, very bright with distinct minerality from the Verona region. And then we delved right into the wines from Dal Forno Romano. This is one of the most famous producers from this part of the world. And Dal Forno does things a little different than his mentor or a good friend, because he never actually worked for Quintarelli, something that a lot of people, you know, there's a rumor that he is the mentor to Quintarelli, but just very well respected because he's obviously the #1 figure in this area in terms of producers. And Dal Forno started in 1985. That was his first vintage. And unlike Quintarelli, which has been exporting wine to the United States for over 100 years. But the big difference between the production style here, Quintarelli dries his grapes a lot longer. Dal Forno uses small barrique. Quintarelli uses large foudre, so he doesn't want the spice that you get from the oak, which you really noticed in the young wines from Dal Forno. The 2004 Valpolicella showing a little bit of that graphite, that pencil lead that you get out of freshly toasted oak. And Dal Forno uses American oak as opposed to French oak. He just likes the way that the Corvina, Raldanella, and Molinara, oops, I'm sorry. It says here he doesn't use Molinara in his 2003. He's got some other grapes in there that I've never heard of. I thought by law you had to use Molinara to make Amarone. You had to use a combination of those 3 grapes. So I'm going to have to check the law out on that too. You know, the kind of things are constantly changing in Italy. It was really nice to see the 2004 Valpolicella versus the 1994, a wine that's got 10 years of age in the bottle. This wine may be a little shaken up. Unfortunately, it had arrived last minute and it was a little bit cloudy. But the wine still tasted good, maybe a little bit muted compared to the other wines because these wines are so big, concentrated, and rich. Some of the wines on the label said 17.5% alcohol, which you have 5% leeway. So could have been upwards of 18% alcohol in a few of these last night. The 04 Valpolicella, fantastic, just loaded with exotic spices, brown sugar, blockbuster style, very rich. You could mistake this wine for Amarone easily. I believe, I want to say it was like, yeah, 13.5%. I'm sorry, that's the 94. The 04 is like 15% alcohol. So alcohol quite a bit higher in the 04 than the 1994, 13.5%. Wow, that's like a regular Valpolicella. But Quintarelli's changed his style a little bit since then. The wine's becoming a little bit bigger, a little richer, and a little more forward, like the 2003 Amarone. A lot of tasters, some tasters, I shouldn't say a lot, were not fond of this wine. To me, it had a little bit of volatile acidity in the nose. This is kind of balsamic vinegar kind of note to it. This is what you get sometimes in a vintage that is very, very ripe. Other ripe vintages like 59, 47, 47 Cheval Blanco wine that's kind of plagued with volatile acidity also. But hey, if you have a lot of other things in the wine, you can compensate for that. And I thought this 2003 was just brilliant. And, you know, for a young Amarone, drinking beautiful. And because they dry the grapes, the tannins are a little smoother in Amarone. I prefer younger Amarone to older Amarone. Younger being, you know, 10, 15 years or younger. And then the older stuff, to me, I can appreciate, but I usually like the vibrant fruit that you get in the young wines. And like I said, you did get some lovely cherry liqueur-like fruit in this 03, a bit of that balsamic note, and just a hint of that clay-like minerality, what I call like Play-Doh minerality you get from Amarone. Fantastic. And then the 3 wines of the night, the 01, the 97, and the 95 to me. I have killer written on my page on all 3 of these. And you know, the 01, a great vintage for Amarone. This wine had wonderful balance, wonderful length. It still needed a little time to me. The 1997, incredible wine. 1997 Recioto, also one of the wines of the night. But the Amarone just singing and still needs a little time also. The 95 kind of in that perfect place right now. I would say you could hold on to this wine another 5 years. It's still going to be plateauing, but had that classic black cherry liqueur fruit to it. Very sweet, really exotic spice, cocoa, and violet floral notes. And these wines, even though they're very big and rich, 16.5%, 17.5% alcohol, still have wonderful freshness and balance on the finish. And 1994, maybe just a little bit shade behind the 95, and showing, definitely at its peak, or maybe I don't want to say starting to fade, but on the downside of that peak. But really nice, just a shade below those last three. The 94 Recioto, we had supposed to have Natari. I don't know, we couldn't find the 94 Natari, but we did show 2 vintages of Recioto, and the 94 Recioto tasting more like port to me, really lighter in color, drinking at or near its peak. The crowd was kind of split on this. The 97 was a little bit brighter and more syrupy, and a little more what I associate with Recioto, as opposed to being, deeper in color and really syrupy, but still really balanced. Really nice. And hey, Dr. Martin was here, so you know what happens when Doug Martin comes to a dinner. We've got extra, and he brought a magnum of the Fuminelli Amarone 2003 Reserva, a wine that I'd never had, which he swears is as good as Quintarelli, and next to the Quintarelli 03 sitting in the glass, man. It kind of paled in comparison in terms of color, but a really nice wine, very different in style from the Quintarelli. I'm excited because we have the 2005 vintage of this wine, which we're showing at the Symphony of the Americas event coming up on November 5th. All right, well, that's what I had to drink last night, folks. I'm your host, Andrew Lamposone, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying, remember, always drink the good stuff first.